Joe Biden once again dipping into how black he is. And we got Joe Concha here to talk about it. Welcome back. Happy New Year to you, Joe.
Happy New Year. Didn't Joe Biden once say that if we ended segregation in schools and mixed blacks and whites together, it would be a racial jungle? Did he say that?
He did.
Yeah. Did he say you have to have a certain accent in order to work at a 7-Eleven, or that Barack Obama was clean and articulate?
Those are
that
things
sounds pretty racist-y to me, doesn't it, Ann?
Well, it depends on who says it, I think, is how the game is played. when you when you see that he's talking at a church like this, when he's going to be moving out onto the campaign trail, you wrote a book about, you've called it, Come On, Man, the truth about Joe Biden's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad presidency. Now he's out trying to vie for term number 2. What do you expect to see in these campaign speeches?
Well, it's Groundhog Day again, apparently. I mean, this is the case of a broken record being played to avoid talking about an actual record, and that's Joe Biden's record. And look, if this is the president's grand opening argument, Annie, to kick off his campaign by saying that he and he alone can save democracy, then Joe Biden is in serious, serious trouble when it comes to re-election. Because for starters, this is a president who spent 138 days last year in relaxing locations and posh vacation spots. That's according to the New York Post, and they did a whole analysis of this, and it's not really a hard sell. I mean, every time we saw him, he was either in Delaware or at some sort of multi-million-dollar mansion of one of his hedge fund buddies. So apparently, saving democracy will be done on a part-time basis, chock full of long weekends at Bernie's. And then we're seeing this obvious thread in all these speeches from Biden lately. And it's what we're not hearing about, right, as far as why you should reelect him for another 4 years. There's no mention of the wonders of Bidenomics. There's no mention of Americans drowning in credit card debt. There's no mention of the crisis that is a catastrophe at the U.S. southern border, because even more Democrats at this point are sounding the alarm about it. I mean, even they're saying this is unsustainable, clearly. No mention of U.S. test scores at their lowest in decades. No mention of the fact that the U.S. is looking like a laughingstock right now, because apparently we have to hook a LoJack up to our defense secretary in order to find out where he is exactly while our warships are being fired upon over in the Middle East. So overall, I don't hear anything about here's what I've done and here's what I want to accomplish in my next 4 years. It's all about race, racism, Trump, and Hitler, and that ain't going to cut it. I'm sorry. In the key swing states, people are saying, what are you going to do for me during the next 4 years? Just don't tell me about what a bad guy Donald Trump is. I believe Hillary Clinton tried that, Annie. It didn't work out too well.
Yeah, amen to that. Joe Concha with us right now, political columnist at The Messenger and Fox News contributor. I wonder if you find yourself thinking about the day after Election Day this year, that's presuming we would know who won at that point in time, and going, how did he win? How did he pull this off? How is this possible? Because I feel like we've done this enough right now that I'm not prepared for common sense to prevail.
Well, that's the thing. If common sense did prevail, then easily it should be a landslide for Trump or whoever the GOP nominee is, for that matter, right? But I did write a column recently when looking at how Joe Biden can win. And I have 4 quick factors I could share with you. One's the economy. Now, the GDP grew at 4.9% in the last quarter reported. That's a big number. Unemployment's still below 4%. I get that people are working multiple jobs, so I'm not going to put too much weight in that. But the Dow is, near record highs, 37,000. So if the economy continues to improve, it takes away somewhat Trump's biggest argument, which is I could steward this economy better than this guy. Then there's abortion. We all know 2022, I came on this show and said, here comes the red tsunami. We didn't even get a red wave. We got a red ripple, right? And now what is it? They have a 2-seat majority in the House. The Republicans do. They didn't win back the Senate when they absolutely should have. So I think that'll still be an issue. I don't think it'll be as hot as it was in 2022, because we're seeing whenever we do referendums in states like Ohio or even Kansas, it's being rejected as far as whether there should be abortion ban. So the whole thing, like, you won't be able to get an abortion, that argument's going away, but it still could play a role. And then if Trump gets convicted, there's just a certain amount of people out there, whether they're Republican or independent, that aren't going to vote for a convicted felon. You can say, well, those trials aren't fair. I agree completely. But if a guilty verdict is a guilty verdict, that may be enough to switch enough votes in enough swing states, maybe to put Biden over the line. And then obviously over in Gaza, if there's some sort of uneasy truce there where we're not seeing the bombing on a daily basis, that anti-Biden sentiment from the left and young voters and Muslim voters in places like Michigan, that may wane a bit, where that doesn't have the impact that it's having right now. So Biden could win, but if I were to bet right now, it's Trump by a touchdown and a few points on top of that. He is the prohibitive favorite, but so many things could happen, Annie, because if we were talking about this in four years ago, and I said, oh, yeah, Trump's going to win because we've got peace and prosperity, I didn't know COVID was coming. coming.
Right.
So who knows what's coming down the pike? So you can't make any definitive prognostications, but that's where things stand right now.
That's absolutely right. We're speaking with Joe Concha. So, November, we're in 2024. It's really not that far away. It'll be here before you know it. What do you think the likelihood is that come November, the nominees are Biden, Trump?
I think it's Trump. I'm pretty sure it's Trump there. Haley's making some nice gains in New Hampshire, but that's a interesting state because anybody could vote, right? It's not just Republicans. So there may be enough anti-Trump sentiment from the left that actually puts Haley over the line. The question is, can she build on it from there and win in her home state of South Carolina, for example? So Trump, he's going to have to fight a bit for that nomination. But in the end, I think just it is far too much loyalty towards him. And he's far too much of a martyr at this point as far as all these trials are concerned, where he's going to get toppled. As far as Biden, I flip a coin, and every other day I'll probably give you a different answer, quite frankly. But in the end, it's so much. How are you at this point in January 2024? Get him out, because I don't think he wants to go anywhere. It's not like you snap a finger and he's like, all right, I'll go. And then I don't know who you replace him with. I keep hearing Newsom, but that state's an utter mess, and he just comes across as phony, and I don't think phony really works in today's day and age. And then they say, well, Michelle Obama could be inserted. I don't think she wants any part of this. She's very happy being in Martha's Vineyard, in a place that deserves its own zip code, and winning Emmys for Netflix. So I think it's Biden reluctantly in the end versus Trump. But again, 1,000 things could happen, particularly when we're talking about Biden, somebody who's 81 years old and clearly not getting – he's like cottage cheese more than wine at this point. He's not getting better with age.
Yeah. The Biden-Trump thing is really a staring contest. If one of those blinks, it's going to dramatically affect the ability of the other. And you're saying you don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think, but again, what the hell? After the last couple of elections, in 2016, I'll gladly say I was wrong. That I didn't think Trump would win. I thought he had a good chance before the Access Hollywood tape, and then I thought, well, that's a death knell. I mean, that's something no one can recover from. I mean, it's on audio. It's not like it's hearsay. I don't see how any woman could vote for him. My wife was appalled. She still voted for him, but she was appalled. So I just don't know. After 2016 and 2020. It's really hard just to, again, use the word common sense before. If I apply logic and common sense, then I say Trump wins. But we are not at a point in this country where we have common sense and logic for many voters that unfortunately have the right to vote, even though they're very misinformed.
Well, we want to keep asking you these questions. We know you got to run, Joe. We appreciate you. Happy New Year to you. Thanks for coming back with us.
Happy New Year. Great to talk to you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, Annie.
Sounds good. Bye-bye. Political columnist at the Messenger, Fox News contributor, Joe Concha. He's always fun to talk about or talk with about all of these specific issues because he's very, very well studied in them, and he's a great writer too. So if you haven't yet, check out the Messenger. Really, really interesting media outlet online. A really good way to get something that's really straight down the middle as far as all of the offerings that they give, reporting news and also opinion from all sorts of different angles.